Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us again. Today we have a very special guest coming to us live from Australia. Richard Butler is joining us, and he is talking today about Pacific Haven Resort. Thank you very much, Richard, for joining us today.
Good morning, Kirsten, or good afternoon, whatever time it is where you are.
Well, we're calling you kind of early in your morning, and it's the evening here in North America. From what I understand here, you have some very exciting new developments that are occurring in your part of the world. In particular, this whole idea of an island that's opening up to the world. Could you give us a little bit of an explanation of what this is all about?
Yes, absolutely. We actually call it Escape to Vanuatu, and we've had a tremendous number of inquiries come in, so many in such that this is why I've asked to try and get something on vision and video to send to my clients. But yeah, Vanuatu is about 2 hours flight from Australia. It's about 10 hours flying time from Los Angeles. And Vanuatu is opening up to the world after almost being an undiscovered island paradise for many years. And we actually love it. The people are fantastic. They're very friendly. In fact, it was voted the most friendliest place in the world 2 or 3 years in a row by Lonely Planet. So that gives you an idea of what this paradise is really like.
So I understand, Richard, that this island is actually, it was colonized by the French and the English. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's amazing, isn't it, that the French and the English actually ran Vanuatu for about 70 years. And Vanuatu people got independence in about 1980, so they've had over almost 31 years of independence now. But the French and the English ran the island and ran the plantations, the copper plantations, and so we have a really strong French influence in Vanuatu. We still have French schools and French restaurants. We have the English running the courts and under the Westminster system of government, which is fantastic. So we have a democracy. We have a country that is still a member of the Commonwealth, paid up member of the British Commonwealth, but also where you have languages such as French names on the menus and on the streets, and you have the English language, and you also have their own native language as well. So it's a real interesting melting pot and a fantastic place to visit and to holiday to as well.
So an international culture with an island flavor, I imagine, is what you're talking about.
Well, yes, and we've just opened up to the world. As a matter of fact, only last year, for the very first time, the Vanuatu Tourism Board did a worldwide, international, global release for tourism. It had never been done before. So we're really undiscovered, I should say, and we're really just about to be discovered by the world. We've become a member of the World Trade Organization on the 1st of January of 2012 after applying originally in 1995. So all of a sudden Vanuatu now is a fantastic place to holiday, a fantastic place to relocate to. It's a fantastic place to set up a business, and we're finding enormous interest coming in from all parts of the world. I just mentioned this, that in 2000 China became a member of the World Trade Organization for the very first time, and look what's happened in China in the last 10 to 12 years. Now we don't have the factory base that China has, or the number of workers. We only have 200,000 people in the whole country, so it's one of the smallest countries in the world. But incidentally, we have the Chinese government and the American government pouring money into the development of Vanuatu, because our major product in actual fact is tourism. 76% of the GDP of Vanuatu is derived from tourism, and the rest is from timber and copper and coconuts and fishing. And fishing, the fishing is fantastic, and the seafood is just unbelievable. And mixed with the French influences, when you go to some of the restaurants, you are just blown away by the quality and the freshness and the diverse opportunity to try different different meals in Vanuatu. We have 40 restaurants now in the little township, and we only have 40,000 people in the township. We've got 40 restaurants. So, and that's increasing every day. So it's a marvelous place to be at.
So, first of all, explain a little bit about where this island is geographically speaking, and compare it maybe to something like the Hawaiian Islands, for example. How would it compare as far as size, location, how to get to it, all this kind of thing?
Well, as a matter of fact, we're not that far from Hawaii if you're in the Pacific. I mean, the Pacific is a very, very big piece of water, as we know, but we're not that far below the line of Hawaii. In fact, if you put a circle around the globe, you sort of come through Australia at a township called Cairns, you come across to Vanuatu, and you slightly increase upwards on the globe to go to Hawaii. So we're a very, very undeveloped area at the moment, incredibly undeveloped, and Australian developers such as myself, I've been a developer in Australia for 35 years, have latched on to Vanuatu because of the closeness to Australia. We're only 2 hours flight from Brisbane to Vanuatu. We have another very well-known town in Australia called Melbourne, and Melbourne is further away to Brisbane than what Vanuatu is. So you can be in Vanuatu and catch a plane at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're in Australia 2 hours later. So it's very, very easy to get to. So you can fly in from Hong Kong, you can fly down through from Singapore or Thailand through to Brisbane, and then get the flight over with Air Vanuatu. And we also have Virgin Airlines now. Richard Branson's famous flight, they're now Virgin Blue. They now are servicing Vanuatu. And on the other side of the coin, you can come in from Los Angeles via Fiji, and the flying time is about 10 to 12 hours. We also have a tremendous number of cruise boats coming in every year at the moment. We've got Carnival, P&O. Carnival's just started down here this year. And you can imagine a town of only 40,000 people getting 200,000 visitors a year coming in off these cruise boats, all wanting to spend $300, $400 to buy nicks and necks and holiday stuff for their children and friends, whatever, and spend up in the restaurants. And then we're also getting 117,000 people flying in every year with the airlines, and we only have 350 3.5 star or above hotel rooms. So we need 2,000 hotel rooms of quality in Vanuatu last year, not next year, not today, last year. So we're behind the 8 ball with being able to supply the world with good holiday accommodation in Vanuatu, and that's one of the major reasons why I'm there, of course.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting. It reminds me a little bit of an island in the Caribbean called St. Martin.
Right.
For North Americans and Canadians, we can totally identify with the French and Dutch flavor of that island, and how wonderfully diverse and highly rich quality of evening activities like restaurants and what have you. Now, maybe what we should do here is focus a little bit on what you've put together here as far as what looks to be a real estate opportunity to actually have a piece of Vanuatu, the Pacific Haven Resort. Is that correct? In my assumption?
That's right.
I'll cut to the. I'm just going to cut to the website a little bit here. Maybe you can explain a little bit about this this project.
Right. Okay. Well, resort residential investment is totally different from normal real estate, and you know, all through this global credit crisis that we've actually had, people have still taken holidays. They've still disappeared on planes. The plane trips have got, or the tickets have got cheaper, and people, especially in Australia, we've had a most amazing number of people in Australia start international travelling because our Australian dollar has gone up, so they can afford to fly. Tickets are cheap, the dollar goes more, and we have this resort residential investment for our clients where we build a resort. We've already been part of a very successful resort in Vanuatu, by the way, for breakers. You look at breakers.com, you'll find it. And we have over 102 bungalows in that particular development, and we've taken that template, incorporated in the Pacific Haven Resort at Tuma Bay, just about 15 minutes drive from downtown Villa and about 20 minutes drive from the airport. And we're building bungalows right on the waterfront, 3-bedroom bungalows, which you can purchase. They settle on their own block of land, 450 square metres average. We completely furnish them for the clients, and we will manage them for the clients as well. So we're getting up to $800 to $1,350 a day for these 3-bedroom bungalows in the existing project. And that brings back a fantastic return for our investors. And we manage them for them, and the clients can actually come and say, look, I'd like to come here and live permanently. And you can just 90 days notice and come and live in them. Or similarly, we can give you 90 days notice and say we don't want to run it, but we wouldn't go to all the trouble of putting this together on the basis of not running them or managing them for the clients. But when the client comes, and actually every year we invite the client to come and use their bungalow for 1 month a year, and for the other 11 months a year we rent it out on their behalf. And the current occupancy factors in Vanuatu range from 65% up to over 90%. And at 65%, these bungalows pay themselves off, they're positively geared, and they are a fantastic investment. We call them upmarket tribal. They're very uniquely designed by an architect, and people absolutely love them.
And what's the demographic of the types of people that enjoy staying at this particular property?
Well, Vanuatu really has captured the honeymoon market and also the couples market. The demographic that we actually get at the moment is the planes leave from New Zealand, 3 ports in Australia, which are Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. And very, very soon, we're opening up in June, July of this year, we're opening up direct flights coming in from Hong Kong. So the demographic that we basically get is over 20, over 25 years of age, right the way through to say 65. Mainly reasonably well-off couples coming to enjoy, the honeymoon that they never had. And we have diving there, sailing there. So we get an adventure type person as well. And people absolutely love the relaxed atmosphere of Vanuatu. So at the moment, our demographic mainly is from the South Pacific area, but very, very shortly we're opening up throughout the world with the international flights coming in from places like Asia and the North Americas and from the Europe as well.
And I see here from the website there's your own in-house finance brokers on the property as well. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, yeah, sure. When we put this project together, you can either pay cash and we actually sell underneath the valuation of the property. But we went to the local bank in Vanuatu. We said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring people in from all around the world. And they said, okay, we're quite happy to finance any of your clients from any in the world on a couple of factors. First of all, they've got to have 20 to 30% deposit. Secondly, they've got to have 3 years tax returns and an accountant in their country that can sign off that that's correct. And we will then supply the client with finance to purchase the property. So our properties go from $399,000 to $530,000, and that's for 3 bedrooms, 235 square metres up to 305 square metres. But they will rent out at $800 to $1,300 a day, and that is more than sufficient to pay back the repayments to the bank. Wow. And also to cover the cost of managing the property as well.
And what's the climate like in this part of the world? I mean, now I imagine you do have storms occasionally, but how is that all handled in this part of the world?
Well, we do live in the South Pacific, and we do live in an area where you have cyclones, the same as the people in your Midwest have the twisters. We have a situation where Vanuatu is in the cyclone belt, and we get them coming through from time to time. Generally, lots and lots of rain. Last cyclone that did a lot of damage, or substantial damage, was about 20-30 years ago. But since then, the building code has meant that we have to build. We actually have to over-engineer our building. We build for cyclone, so our buildings are actually insured by the insurance companies for cyclone, and obviously, when you get an insurance company insurance your building for cyclone, it's obviously pretty well solid and designed for the elements. But other than that, the weather is fantastic. It's tropical. There's no such thing as a winter. Even that's one of the things about Vanuatu, is that people come all around the year, because even in the winter, even in the when it's winter in the southern hemisphere, it's summer in the northern hemisphere, and vice versa. So we've got an opportunity of inviting people to come to Vanuatu for 12 months a year, and that's why our occupancy factors are so high. But sunshine every day, most days sunshine. Tropical cloud comes over 4 o'clock in the afternoon, drops a little bit of rain, cools everything off, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, it sounds like an absolute paradise.
It is.
So for those that are interested in learning more about the island, apparently there is a book available.
Yeah, I've only just yesterday got a book that I've written, which is actually titled How the World Trade Organization will affect Vanuatu, and how you can escape to this island paradise. Nice long title. Typical real estate salesman, can't say things in 2 word syllables. But it's gone up on Amazon yesterday. It's only $1.99, which is very cheap. And all proceeds from the book are actually being given to the local primary school in Pango Village, so that the school can use the proceeds for buying books for the children. And it's quite informative. It's got 11 points on investing in Vanuatu, moving in Vanuatu, technology in Vanuatu, health in Vanuatu, real estate in Vanuatu. Anything that you can think of, including how the World Trade Organization is going to change Vanuatu and assist the people of Vanuatu enormously. We're going to have enormous financial interest coming into Vanuatu. So yeah, it's up on Amazon, $1.99, and don't have a link on my website yet. I think we're going to put one on this broadcast, but there will be a link on my website within the next couple of days, as soon as my webman can do it for me.
Yeah, and for the purposes of this broadcast, what I've done is at the bottom here I've included a short link. It's the one with the webcast /JUYRHB. It's just a short link to get to this very long link on Amazon. But obviously, if you search for how the WTO will change Vanuatu, I'm sure you're going to be able to find that booklet. It would be an ideal way for someone just to do a little bit of research on the island itself.
Well, one of the things, you can just go on Amazon, look under Kindle, put in Vanuatu and search, and look. It'll come up straight away under processed in the last 30 days. But can I just make one point which I did miss there before, and especially for this broadcast, I think it's very important that any investment in Vanuatu, in such as our bungalows, in excess of $55,000, allows the investor to actually relocate to Vanuatu. And we have a whole setup with accountants and lawyers that can assist anybody that wants to escape the rat race, leave the problems behind and come and live in a lovely country, have a restart. Vanuatu will welcome you as long as you are a good person to come to Vanuatu and relocate your family. We specialise in helping people relocate their businesses into Vanuatu. And one of the things that most people like about Vanuatu, and I'm sure you will, Kirsten, when I tell you as well, is that in Vanuatu it's a tax-friendly country. So there's no income tax, there's no corporate tax, There's no death duties, which is important to people. And you know, my bracket, the baby boomers, you're not going to have the government take whatever you've worked for. And there's also no land tax. So to live in Vanuatu, the only taxes that you pay for is a VAT tax, which is 12.5%. So that's a user pay tax on what you buy, and everybody's quite happy with that situation. So that makes Vanuatu an incredibly attractive proposition for people from around the world to come and have a look at. And our property developments have been based around these important points, that not only are you buying an investment property, not only are you buying a property which has a fantastic rental return and that you can use yourself for a holiday for the rest of your life, you can relocate and retire there. And we have many opportunities for investors to come into Vanuatu and work as joint ventures with our company as well.
So there's a real immigration push happening in Vanuatu by the looks of it.
Absolutely.
And what about the how expensive is it to essentially feed yourself on the island? You know, what is it on a percentage basis versus Australia, for example? I mean, we have to use a proper benchmark here. How would it compare?
Well, it's pretty much the same sort of cost factors. You know, food is food, no matter where you buy it these days. But vegetables, anything to do with your vegetables in your kitchen, you go down to the markets and you can buy everything from bananas through to seafood to crab to pineapples, flowers, and you can buy that extremely cheaply. So, you know, the fundamental things to manufacture your own food are very cheap. Real estate is reasonably cheap as well. I mean, our properties, in comparison to what you'd pay in Australia for the same product, is millions of dollars cheaper than what you pay in Australia. Australia's a very I suppose the word is, the real estate market in Australia is now one of the most highest priced in the world. But as far as living in Vanuatu, the day-to-day factors are quite minimised because everything's in a small township of only 40,000 people. So a lot of people walk everywhere. The local people in Vanuatu, as I said, it has been a lost and an undiscovered country. Their average income is only $2,300 per annum. So when they get a job, they love a job, and for $500 a month, you could have a driver, you could have a cook, you could have a groundsman and a maid, all for $500 US or $500 Australian a month. So consequently, if you have an independent income coming in from a business in America or Australia or wherever where you've left your son or daughter to run it, or you have an income from shares, you can quite frankly live in Vanuatu very cheaply.
So to wrap this up, and we'll get to how to reach you and all that at the end, but if there's one thing that you can think of that you would recommend someone do if they visit Vanuatu, what would that one thing be?
Wow, it's hard because there's so many things that I
putting you on the spot.
There is one thing just up from where our development site is. There's a fantastic restaurant called which is right on the beachfront, and the famous story about it is one of the famous Beach Boys came out many years ago and bought this old resort restaurant and did it up, Tuma. And we have a fantastic chef up there, and you can go and sit at in that restaurant on the table with the sand and the water right in front of you, and have a piece of the local fish, the poulet fish, and with the local prawns, the Tuma prawns, and a nice bottle of French Chardonnay or French white wine, and just sit there and have the most magnificent, relaxing lunch. I've actually taken over the restaurant as my unofficial office, where I do a lot of business and I take all my clients there. But that's one place that I would highly recommend. But there are just so many things that if you come to Vanuatu, you find that you can't see it all in one trip. You have to come back again. And we have 60-70% of the people who come to Vanuatu do return. So that's my tip. The one thing I recommend is lunch on the beach with a nice bottle of French wine and a lovely piece of the local, absolutely fresh, caught that morning fish.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Richard. It was wonderful learning about this island and this opportunity to get in on a very, well, it sounds to me like an absolutely gorgeous part of the world, the Pacific Haven Resort. So just hang tight and watch towards the end of this broadcast, and we'll give you a phone number where you can reach Richard and contact him for more information. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Lovely. All the best. Hope to see you soon.
Cheers.